The dust clung to Samuel Carter's boots as he rode across the familiar hills of Arizona, his heart swelling with anticipation. 3 long years he had been gone, 3 years working cattle drives and dangerous trade routes to earn enough to expand the ranch he'd inherited from their father. Every night on the trail, his thoughts returned to the same vision, his ranch thriving, his Apache wives Lena and Niley waiting at the porch with their gentle smiles, and the land blossoming under their shared labor. Home. The word felt heavier, fuller, than it had in a long time. Samuel had not just left behind land, he had left behind love, partnership, and a family that gave him purpose. He pushed his weary horse faster, eager for the first glimpse of the old Carter ranch. But when the ranch finally came into view, Samuel pulled the reins hard, his breath catching in disbelief. The fences were torn down, the barn's paint faded and peeling, and the once bustling corral lay silent. Smoke no longer curled from the chimney. Instead, the Carter brand, once carved proudly into the gate, had been painted over crudely. And standing where his wives should have been, he saw his brother Charles. Charles, his younger brother, had always been ambitious but bitter, resentful of Samuel's easy rapport with people, resentful of how their father trusted Samuel to inherit the ranch. Charles stood on the porch with a drink in his hand, dressed in fine clothes Samuel didn't recognize. And there were strangers, rough men lounging about the yard, their laughter carrying like a mockery across the land Samuel had broken his back to build. Samuel's voice cracked as he called out, "Where are Lena and Niley?" Charles smirked, leaning against the porch rail. "Gone," he said simply, as though speaking of livestock. "They never belonged here. I cast them out. This is my ranch now, brother." The words struck Samuel harder than any bullet ever could. His wives, Apache women who had endured prejudice from neighbors and whispers from strangers, had been the heart of this land. They had kept it alive with their knowledge of soil, water, and medicine. Together, they had planted orchards and kept the cattle healthy when drought threatened. And they had loved Samuel, not out of convenience, but out of loyalty and truth. "Gone," Samuel repeated, his hands trembling on the reins. "You threw them out. My family." Charles shrugged. "Your family. Or your shame. You think the folks around here respect a Carter who sleeps with Indians?" "No, brother. I gave this land back its dignity. And now it thrives under me." He gestured to the rough men nearby, gamblers and drifters by the look of them. "With men who understand strength." Samuel dismounted slowly, every muscle taut with rage, but his heart too broken for words. He wanted to strike Charles, to reclaim the ranch by force, yet the image of Lena and Niley wandering homeless through the desert burned brighter in his mind. He turned away from his brother, vowing silently to find him first. The land could wait, love could not. For days, Samuel searched. He rode into nearby towns, asking after 2 Apache women, one with hair as dark as midnight, the other with eyes the color of amber in sunlight. Most spat in the dirt, muttering about squaws. Others lied, turning their backs. Yet Samuel pressed on, his determination growing with every rejection. Finally, in a small, wind-beaten village near the reservation line, he found them. Lena was tending to a sick child, crushing herbs with steady hands, while Niley drew water from a cracked well. Their clothes were worn, their faces tired, but when they saw Samuel, their eyes filled with tears, not of weakness, but of recognition. "Samuel," Lena whispered, dropping the bowl of herbs. She ran to him, clinging to his chest, while Niley stood still, her face unreadable. "I came back," Samuel said, his voice hoarse. "I came back, and I found what he did. I'm so sorry." Niley's arms remained folded. "Sorry does not feed the hungry. Sorry does not give us back our home." Her words were sharp, but Samuel nodded, accepting them. He had left them vulnerable, and Charles had struck. Now it was his burden to mend what was broken. "Then let me make it right," he said. "Not just with words. With everything I am." That night, they sat around a small fire, the desert wind howling through the canyons. Samuel listened as Lena and Niley spoke of the cruelty Charles had shown, how he had ridden in with hired men, declared the land his own, and threatened them with violence if they stayed. They had walked miles, enduring jeers and stones thrown by settlers who despised their presence. Yet they had survived, leaning on each other, their strength unbroken. As Samuel listened, he felt both awe and shame. These women, cast out and scorned, had more resilience in their bones than most men carried in their entire lives. "I will not ask you to forgive me," Samuel said softly, staring into the flames. "But I will ask you to fight with me. Not just for land, but for the life we dreamed together." Lena took his hand gently. "Samuel, we never wanted the ranch for wealth. We wanted it because it was a place where love was stronger than hate. If we fight, let it be for that." For the first time in years, Niley's stern face softened. She nodded. "Then we fight." The plan was not for violence, though Samuel's blood still burned with rage. Instead, it was for truth. They began gathering those who had known kindness at the Carter Ranch, neighbors whom Lena had healed, travelers whom Niley had sheltered, cowhands Samuel had once treated with fairness when others would not. Slowly, a small band of allies grew, people bound not by blood or greed, but by gratitude. Yet the greatest test came when Samuel returned to confront Charles. He did not ride in with guns, though every instinct told him to. He rode in with Lena and Niley by his side, and with neighbors following behind. Charles laughed when he saw them. "Come to beg, brother," he sneered. "Or have you finally chosen to crawl?" But Samuel did not beg. He stood tall, his voice steady. "This land does not belong to you, Charles. Not because of blood or birthright, but because you've poisoned it with hate. This ranch was built on love, on trust, on the sweat of my family, my wives, my partners. You cast them out, but still they stand. That is strength you'll never know." The gathered neighbors murmured. For the first time, Charles's smoke faltered. Then, unexpectedly, Lena stepped forward. "We do not want vengeance," she said, her voice carrying across the yard. "We want a home, and if Samuel chooses kindness, then so do we." It was a moment of profound realization for Samuel. Love was not about reclaiming what was his by force. It was about proving that compassion could outlast cruelty. But Charles was not finished. His eyes hardened, his pride refusing to bend. "You think words will drive me out? No, brother. If you want this land, you'll have to take it from me." He drew a pistol, the sun glinting off the steel. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Samuel felt Lena's hand clutch his arm, Niley's breath catch. In that instant, Samuel knew the fight was no longer about land, it was about the very soul of their family.